So, a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend, I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions, and discuss them in a video. This week, the FIBA World Cup came to an end with a lot of huge upsets, and surprising results going down at the end, plus some harsh truths have come to light, so we still have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now. So if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from James, and he says that Noah Lyles was right about everything. So, to give some context for this take, for those of you who didn't see all of the commotion a little while ago, American sprinter Noah Lyles was discussing the NBA for some reason at his press conference, and he said that the NBA champions are, quote, world champions of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong, I love the US at times, but that ain't the world. And of course, after he said that, a lot of top NBA players fired back at him, calling him and his claims dumb and ridiculous. The whole thing was pretty bizarre because Lyles pretty much took a shot at the NBA for no reason, and it honestly came out of nowhere, and then the conversation that followed became pretty contentious, because there are people on both sides vehemently defending or opposing his claims. Well, applying that conversation to the present, Team USA just lost in the semifinals of the FIBA World Cup, and then also lost to Canada in the bronze medal game. So of course, people have gone back to Lyles' comments and said that his result justifies him, because Team USA are not world champions. I will say that if we're diving fully into the semantics, then of course Lyles' comments are technically true. The NBA does not compete against other clubs from around the world, so the claims of being, quote, world champions are not true in a literal sense. However, you are being incredibly disingenuous if you really believe that the top NBA teams need to prove themselves against lesser competition to truly be the best team in the world, because the fact of the matter is that the best basketball talent is in the NBA. The results of the FIBA World Cup also don't have anything to do with Lyles' comments, because his comments were regarding the NBA, insinuating the conversation is about professional teams, not international teams. All of the best players on all of the other countries participating in the FIBA World Cup are NBA players. Germany won the gold medal, and they're led by NBA talent like Dennis Schroeder, Franz and Mo Wagner, Daniel Theis. They beat Serbia in the final, who are led by NBA player Bogdan Bogdanovic. Team Canada beat the US in the bronze medal game, and pretty much their entire team is made up of NBA players, and on top of it all, the US does not send their top talent to the World Cup. So if you really think this country can't do better than guys like Austin Reeves and Bobby Portis, you do need to think again and stop being disingenuous. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from another commenter named James, and he says that Steve Kerr is a horrible coach whose success has been based on luck, and his lack of adjustments got exposed during the World Cup. Okay, so right off the bat, we have to say that this take is definitely taking things too far, trying to discredit all of Steve Kerr's accomplishments by labeling it as all luck. However, there is a conversation that needs to be had about Steve Kerr after all of this has gone down. Steve Kerr inherited a Warriors team that hadn't gotten over the hump yet, and has absolutely been one of the biggest contributors to them developing into the dynasty that they then became. It can also be said that Kerr inherited an incredibly talented team perfectly built to run the schemes that he wanted to run. Kerr revolutionized the small ball lineup, and he successfully did so because Draymond Green is the perfect forward to utilize in lineups like that. Draymond is a rare breed as an undersized forward with otherworldly defensive talent, while also being the kind of player offensively that doesn't even really look to score, and instead can have the offense run through him as a playmaker. A guy like him playing alongside the greatest shooter of the basketball we have ever seen in Steph Curry and another all-time great shooter in Klay Thompson, along with Kevin Durant also being thrown in the mix for a stretch, has certainly made Steve Kerr's life very easy for a while. In fact, the few times we actually have seen Kerr-coached teams face adversity, his groups have not always been able to overcome it. In 2020, the team faced a lot of injuries and missed the playoffs, so you can't really fault him for that. But in 2021, however, it was the first time the Warriors didn't have a stacked deck, and they once again missed the playoffs, despite Steph Curry having one of his best individual seasons. Now we see Team USA fail to bring home a single medal from the FIBA World Cup with Steve Kerr in charge, and I'm sorry, but the coaching has to be held accountable. This may not have been anywhere close to the best team that Team USA could have put together talent-wise, but there was still more than enough talent to at least medal. Kerr fell in love with running small ball lineups with this group far too often. Opposing teams' size overwhelmed them on several occasions, and Kerr did not adjust. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Cavo, and he says that the hype around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is starting to be too much, and insinuates that he's starting to get pretty overrated. I can agree with this sentiment to a degree, because as he says in this take, Shai is the rising star I see most often ranked very high on player ranking lists, and as he said, sometimes he's been put in the top 10 or even the top 5 by reputable sources. I think when you discuss this tier of player, you need to be an established superstar that has proven themselves for an extended period of time. So that's why I personally wouldn't quite put him in that category yet, but on the flip side, he is absolutely right on the cusp, and could break through to that tier as soon as this upcoming season. SGA was one of the leading scorers in the entire NBA last season, putting up about 31 points per game, and he did so very efficiently. His numbers weren't empty either, as the Thunder were expected to be one of the worst teams in the league last season, but he led them all the way to the play-in tournament, and this year, they're gunning for even loftier goals. If the Thunder can emerge as a playoff team this year, it will likely be because Shai has continued on the tear that he's currently on, and in that scenario, the talks of him being a top 10 player will absolutely be justified. He controls the tempo of games beautifully, he gets to his spots and converts, his production is equal to the best players at his position, and the young Thunder team around him are hungry for more success. He also took control of Team Canada in the FIBA World Cup and led them over the USA in the bronze medal game, so again, his production is translating on plenty of big stages, making it very easy to predict a big leap coming. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.